Georgia Southern men's basketball also open up Sun Belt Conference play. They will be in Arkansas the entirety of the week. Again, Danny talking about it. They are leaving tomorrow to spend an extra day out in Little Rock, a former home for head coach Brian Berg.
He wasn't there long, but it was home for him.
He was there enough to scout it out.
And he was enough there to make some history.
Yeah, that was a really good Little Rock team the year he was there with Chris Beard.
This is my 7th year doing Sun Belt basketball. I still think that's the best team that this league has had.
Yeah.
That 2015 Little Rock team, they defended, they could score, they did everything well.
I mean, we'd have to go back to the Almanac Jay Walker to make sure that was correct. But
well, you know that he would slide some... He would say 2017 Ragin' Cajuns,
no.
which I would absolutely say that they are in the top 3, but that Little Rock team in 15 was so good, and they knew it too. It's not that they were cocky about it, but you could just tell when that team stepped on the floor, they knew they were going to beat you.
It's a Little Rock team that right now 5-7 and a little bit up and down as far as the schedule goes. Had a couple of softer opponents to open up the season, but then you get into Sam Houston State and Northern Illinois, split that weekend down in Jacksonville at a Thanksgiving tournament. They've had games against number 10 Arkansas, at Colorado State, both of those falling in those. Had a game postponed against Central Arkansas and then fell to Jacksonville State their last time out on the 21st of December. What do you know about the Little Rock Trojans, Danny Reed?
Well, 3 of the 5 wins have been against non-D1s, just like Georgia Southern. Their 2 Division I victories, ironically, are schools directionally in the state of Illinois. They beat Southern Illinois to start the year, and then they beat Northern Illinois to pick up that 5th victory. Darrell Walker, who is now in year 4 leading this program, I don't think he knows what he has because most of his year he's had 7 healthy bodies and 7 others in tracksuits on the bench. They've been banged up, they've been sick, they've had some flu issues, and apparently this is something in the region because you already mentioned the issues with Central Arkansas having that game get moved, actually get called off. Pine Bluff has had issues, the Little Rock women have had issues, so it's been something regionally that they have had to deal with. But if they were at full strength, I seriously think that they could threaten. And you can't say the West Division anymore because even though last year we went East-West to make sure that travel-wise you were only playing teams in your division. That's why Georgia Southern didn't see Little Rock last year because they were in the West. It's now just a 12-team league, and everybody is going to go to the conference tournament down in Pensacola once we get to the month of March. They're led by Nikola Maric, who had some issues with his amateur status a couple of years ago, didn't play the first half of the season, but as a freshman, really good game at Hanner Fieldhouse. He actually had 18 and 8 that night. He's now coming back after starting for his 2nd straight year. Good size at 6'10", 250, preseason 3rd-team All-League pick. He's averaging 13 and 6. Those rebounding statistics are 9th best in the league. He can also step out and knock down the three-point shot, but their offense is going to go through him. You also look at somebody like an Isaiah Palermo, 6'5" junior from Kissimmee, Florida, an afterthought for his first 3 years, but now he's averaging better than 12 points per game, and he's had to step forward because they've had so many guys out.
That'll be the opener for Sun Belt Conference play for Georgia Southern men's basketball. 7:30 the tip-off from Little Rock, Arkansas, and the last time out to the Jack Stevens Center in Little Rock. We'll be on the air at 7 o'clock with the Cutwater Spears countdown to tip-off, and then you transition over to Jonesboro, Arkansas, and the Arkansas State Red Wolves. And
New Year's at Jonesboro!
We welcome in the voice of the Arkansas State Red Wolves, and Matt Stolz. Matt, appreciate you joining us.
You guys lucked out getting to spend New Year's in Jonesboro, didn't you?
Well, I'm hoping that you and I can sing Auld Lang Syne at some point on Saturday. Can we do that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can't wait. It's good to have 2 of my favorite guys in the league coming to Jonesboro. So I'm excited about it. Actually, I know I say 2 of them. You're coming, Danny. I'm sorry Colin has to miss out on this trip, but only so many can experience New Year's in Jonesboro.
We don't want to take it from everybody else that's going to be there.
Talk about this team, Matt. Off to a 9-3 start through non-conference slate before you get into what the Sun Belt Conference looks like coming up on Thursday when you guys open up against Georgia State. But so far, what has this team been about?
9-3 is a good place for this team to be right now. The 3 losses have been against really good teams. They've lost at Illinois, at Texas Tech, and they had a home loss against Morehead State. But just overall, I think the body of work is good right now. And really, you go back over the last 2.5 games, they're playing their best basketball right now. And it seems to really be starting to come together. Norshad Omier comes in as the preseason Sun Belt Player of the Year. And, he's averaging a double-double and looking kind of the way he looked at the end of last season. And, it's basically the same team you saw last year. Almost everybody is back. 98% of last year's scoring has returned, but they've added a really good transfer in Desi Sills, who transferred in from Arkansas. He's a Jonesboro product, went to Jonesboro High School, actually played on the same high school team as Marquise Eaton. So Desi's been a great addition. He's already come in, and even with a team full of returners, he's a guy that has become a team leader in a very big hurry. So I like where this team's at right now, and should be fun to watch.
I want to go back to Omier for a second. I want to say it was after the game against Lyon when he had 31 points that Coach Bellotto was asked about how he has gotten better from a season that he averaged 12-12 as a freshman. From your chair, in what ways has he gotten even better to back up being the preseason Player of the Year?
Just comprehension of the game. And you go back and look at Norshad. He's only been playing basketball about 4 years now, and he's still learning the game. And the biggest thing with him, and it's no secret, it's happened last year and it's happened again to begin this season. When Norshad gets in trouble, it's because of fouls.
Yeah.
And he picks up way too many times for his liking, and I know Coach Bellotto's liking to this point. A couple of fouls in the first 3, 4, 5 minutes of the game, and there's been several instances where he has to sit the rest of the first half. So foul trouble has been the biggest issue right now for Norshad. And you mentioned the 31-10 that he had last time out. That was in 21 minutes. It's not like he's out there playing 30, 35 minutes a game, and he's in as good a shape as any athlete you'll come across. So he's a guy that can play an entire 40 minutes if need be, but at the same time, it's just being able to be on the floor and staying out of foul trouble that's the biggest issue with him. But I think he's understanding the game better. He's certainly enjoying the process of just being a part of this team. And I think that the sky's the limit for him. And again, we kind of saw at the end of last year just a little glimpse of how good he might be. And now I think he's starting to show improvement.
This an Arkansas team that last year 7-8 in Sun Belt play. Where's the biggest improvement that you see from this team as a whole?
Just another year older. I think that Norshad is one example. His maturation continues, but they're better because they've added Desi Sills. And Desi is a all-conference caliber player. He was all-conference caliber in the SEC. And he's come in, and again, he's already assumed a leadership role. And, he's averaging 15, 16 points a game, and he's just going to continue. I think he's going to continue to get it done on that end of the floor. But where his value really lies is on the defensive end of the floor. He is a fantastic defender, and he was that way when he was at Arkansas. Where they really didn't use him as much was on the offensive end of the floor. And I think that he wanted to become more valued and more used offensively. And so far at A-State, that certainly happened.
One thing that sticks out about the schedule is the fact that Coach Bellotto not only scheduled 2 SWAC teams, but going to SWAC teams like a Pine Bluff, like a Mississippi Valley State. These are schools that typically don't get Division I home games in the non-conference. How did that all go down?
Well, we needed some home and homes, and it worked out to where we were on the road for those SWAC opponents, and that happened here in just the last few weeks. But I think for this team in particular, it's important to go into some different environments and play those road games. They've played most of their games to this point at home, but at the same time, I think it was good for them to go on the road. That was part of a 3-game road stretch where they did win those games at Pine Bluff and then at Mississippi Valley. And then, they wrapped up that road swing by going to Texas Tech and probably played their best half of the season in the second half of that game in Lubbock. So I think that now they have some road experience. They know they can win on the road, and hopefully that's something that pays dividends come conference play.
Coach Bellato has hovered around 500 for a good portion of the tenure, but I remember then we talked in the tournament last year, because we matched up in that first round game in Pensacola, that this was going to be the year that probably was one of the most anticipated in recent memory. And now that you have so many guys back, adding Desi, how has that anticipation met what has actually happened?
I think that we're starting to see what this team can be, but I don't think they're anywhere close to where they want to be right now. I think that 9-3 is all well and good, but at the same time, there's a lot of ways this team can improve. You go back over the last few years, and you're right. I think everything in this program has been leading up to this year. And a lot of these guys will be back next season and the year after that. But at the same time, one piece that we haven't talked about yet is Marquise Eaton. Yeah. And here's a guy that's 7th on the all-time scoring list now at A-State. He's top 10 in steals, top 10 in assists, and he is a very big piece of this team. Well, this is his last year. He's a COVID senior, and he's trying to make the most of it as well. So, yes, you've got some key pieces in place, but this is your last time around with Marquise Eaton, and this is the year that they've kind of been building toward.
This is the 5th year under Bellato at Arkansas State, and I know whenever he came into Jonesboro was somebody that was welcomed pretty well. What has it been like the last 5 years seeing him build his program?
I think he's done a good job. I know it hasn't gone as fast as he wanted to, but I think what we saw in the second half of conference play last year, there was a 4-game win streak during that stretch. There were some close losses. They did win the game against Georgia Southern in the conference tournament, but I think that they were able to take a little bit of confidence and build on some things from that last month of the season last year. So, again, it's not as fast as Coach Bellato would have liked, but he really, really likes this team that he has in place right now.
Where are you going to make Matt take you for New Year's?
Oh, Matt, what is open on New Year's?
Well, I know you're a big pizza lover, and you visited most of the pizza joints around town, but I'm happy to take you out for New Year's. So we'll make sure you have a good time while you're here.
Okay, we've been to the 3 major ones. Has there been one that we have missed? Is there a hidden gem in Jonesboro that we have somehow missed?
There's plenty of places you haven't been to yet, Danny. This place is growing like crazy around here. They build a new restaurant every week. So, that's something we're not short of in Jonesboro. So we're happy to have you here, and hopefully we'll have some fun this weekend.
Hey, before we let you go, I wanted to get your take on what the kind of crowd has been like so far. You talked about a lot of home games for this team so far. Last year being a COVID year, reduced capacity and everything that you had to go through last year, what is the crowd and kind of getting back to the new normal? What has that been like this year for this team?
I'm really anxious. We had a good crowd at the very beginning of the season. A lot of the students were there. In fact, our entire end zone was full with our student section. I'm anxious to see, and this is usually when the crowds pick up. Once school gets back in the spring, the students get back, that can be a different kind of atmosphere. And because of the success of this team and because of the potential that this team has, I think that we could start to see some much bigger crowds. I don't know if we're going to see that this week with the students still not back just yet, but there's a lot of things to be excited about, and not just because of the 9-3 start, not just because conference play is here, but because there are 3 players on this A-State roster that are from the city of Jonesboro. There's a lot of local interest here in Northeast Arkansas. I mentioned Desi Sills and Marquise Eaton played on the same high school team at Jonesboro High School, but Avery Phelps is also a Jonesboro product, and he is a very valuable contributor off the bench, and he went to high school in Jonesboro as well. So there's a lot of reasons for the crowd to come out. They've got every reason in the world, especially if this team continues to win games. And, hopefully we see some big crowds soon at First National Bank Arena.
Matt, appreciate you joining us. Hope you guys had a really Merry Christmas, and Daniel will catch up with you in a couple of days.
All right, looking forward to it. We'll miss seeing you, Colin, but I'll make sure I take care of Danny for you. And always fun talking to you guys.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, love you guys. See ya.
Once again, that's Matt Stolz, the voice of the Arkansas State Red Wolves, one of the best guys in the league. There's no doubt about it.
Becoming the venerable Matt Stolz.
He is.
He's almost up to Jay Walker in terms of years at his school.
Unless you ask Jay. It's going to be a good weekend for you. Get to see two of the really good guys. Well, one of the really good guys in Matt Stolz. I'm still trying to figure out if Ray Tucker exists.
Well, he's like Santa Claus. He is very real.
He really is.
But he is very real. Or Shoeless Joe Jackson, if you like Field of Dreams, whichever.
I have never met Ray Tucker. I don't know that I've ever seen Ray Tucker.
I know you didn't get a chance to go to Pensacola last year, but...
See, I'm starting to think all of y'all are getting together and just making it a myth and coming up with different stories.
The good thing is that this year, all 12 on both sides go to Pensacola.
And they all play at the Bay Center.
All play at the Bay Center. So, at some point, there has got to be an overlap. We got to get... It took Sowers, I think, 3 or 4 years to meet
I think it did too, and he became a best friend for life.
Oh, he's got him a bestie. We need to get Sowers on to tell some Ray Tucker stories.
We should have had Josh on to talk about Ray Tucker instead of...
Oh, so next week, what are we going to do? Because I'll have Texas State and Arlington here. And Arlington, it's going to be their final year in the league.
Good point.
Because they haven't announced where they're going yet. It's coming. They haven't announced it yet. But this is going to be their last year in the Sun Belt.
Sad. And next week, I've got Coastal Carolina and App on the road. That's tough.
I'd say we could do one of each.
Or all of them.
That's fine, too.
Because I'm not sure...
We don't have a time limit.
That's true. We could go for days.
We just stopped.
We
run
last
out of
week.
things. Yeah, but there was a reason for that.
That's true. But Georgia Southern men's basketball will be in Jonesboro on Saturday, 5 p.m. The tip-off from First National Bank Arena. They will start Sun Belt Conference play on Thursday out at the Jack Stevens Center in Little Rock, Arkansas. 7:30 the tip-off. Danny will be on the air with the Cutwater Spirits countdown to tip-off 30 minutes prior in both of those.
So it's 7 Eastern on Thursday for the Cutwater countdown to tip-off, and then Saturday it'll be 4:30.
Correct.
Different tip times this weekend.
It'll be all right. I'll get you through it.
Will I have you?
No.
Oh.
I'll be there in spirit. Maybe.
Thank you.
Maybe.